people to make the fade out a thing, right? With that abrupt end to the music, I'm always a little bit tempted to scream out like Adrian Cronauer. Look it up, and welcome everyone to this week's episode. This week we're going to be talking about cloud applications, multi-cloud, CASB, CSPM, all kinds of fun stuff. It's a fun topic for me, and I was with a friend last night in this same space. And he reiterated to me what a critical component this is for more and more organizations every day. He works with an organization that spends literally $400 million a year on cloud computing. And keeping that secure, keeping visibility to all that, doing some spend management as well is super top of mind with them. And so tools like Defender for Cloud and everything that goes into protecting and understanding your cloud investments is what we're going to talk a little bit about today. As always, you can reach out to me afterwards, and happy to provide slides or even spend some time with you discussing any topic that you see on one of our episodes here. And hey, quick shout out to our marketing team. I'm really jazzed by the creative on this. I think I'm the good guy in that picture. Hopefully I'm not the guy fishing for information in the cloud. But shout out to our creative team. That's very cool. So we'll talk a little bit about this, shadow IT, multi-cloud, the different pieces that we're all sort of challenged to manage. I spent some time at HP, and it's always sort of been this promise, whether it's network management, whether it's security management, this whole one pane of glass, right? And it's probably the value is in the journey as opposed to it being an endpoint. But we'll talk about how this can really help give you visibility into a lot of things going on in your environment. We'll look at some screenshots. We'll talk about some of the capability. We'll talk about some of the interactions that you have with it. But let's start out by just setting the stage a little bit. Multi-cloud environments for many of us are they're the reality. They're the reality of the world these days. My kids are texting me, telling me that Adam Thielen's been released. So you can see we're Vikings fans in this household, long-suffering Vikings fans. So maybe pour one out for us today as we let hometown hero Adam go. And so, how do you integrate security into your agile and DevOps mentality that you have now? How is your strategy and your compliance requirements proactively and thoughtfully mapped into the things that you do? And then that last one is, unfortunately, a lot of organizations, suffer breaches, suffer compromises. And while that can be a factor in taking this seriously, how do we get in front of that, right? That's an average cost of breach. Even on the smaller side, if you're a smaller organization, it might even be more material than some of these largest breaches. And so Microsoft is taking a page from IBM and WebSphere back in the day, where if you just name everything WebSphere, then you have on-brand marketing. And so we've got another flavor of Defender for Cloud, right, where we can do those things that we talked about, right? Strengthen and manage your cloud security posture across the multi-cloud environment. The realities of whether it's mixing your spend or specific vendor capability that you're looking for, it's really becoming more and more of a reality for more customers. And so, cloud native application protection across cloud environments and on-prem, right? And that's, I had a funny reminder of that this week, talking to a customer where I just sort of breezed by the fact that they have a huge on-prem investment still, right? I had to put my on-prem hat back on. And so bringing all of those things together, you can see all of the different elements that you can really manifest and use when it comes to Defender for Cloud. Improve that DevOps posture, do governance and compliance at scale, have protection across the full stack. This journey to zero trust, this journey to security being an always on element has been a long one, and it's just going to continue. And this can be an important piece of the puzzle as you move forward. And so Microsoft likes to differentiate in this space, multi-cloud and hybrid support, agentless onboarding in AWS and GCP, auto provisioning. Continue using Secure Score and some of that gamification to say, hey, where am I going forward? Where am I going backwards? The fact that it's built in with Azure and then integrates with the threat protection pieces that we've talked about in a couple of previous episodes. The fact that things like labeling and things like data loss prevention can all work together seamlessly across clouds, across on-prem. And so let's just talk briefly about a couple of these topics. And so DevOps security management. So most of us are moving to a DevOps world, right? Sort of that integrated, agile approach to building out projects. And so Defender for DevOps, which I think is still just in public preview right now, infrastructure as code and enabling security there. Contextual insights. That's one of the key things I think that's really changed in the last couple of years is, Chat GPT gets all the hype. You can get Bing to say some crazy things these days and even, look to date you and tell you had a bad Valentine's date with your spouse. That gets all the attention, but this artificial intelligence and machine learning that's going on in the security space is hugely advantageous. We're headed towards days where scrubbing logs by hand, using log viewers, having to have a trained eye and wading through tons and tons of chaff looking for wheat are gone more and more every day. The evolution has been going on now for a number of years to say, let's take all that data and let's triage it and get the important things to the surface, get the important things, to people, and have the platform handle the triage as much as possible. And so let's talk about what it looks like to strengthen your posture when it comes to Defender for Cloud. And so centralized dashboard across all of these assets, that quick view of what's going on, vulnerabilities to be addressed, compliance views, be able to see the inventory across all those different clouds. I have to admit, it still feels a little bit weird as a former Microsoft employee or someone who works in the Microsoft solution space most of my days, to talk freely about AWS and Google Cloud, that, hey, they exist. We know. We're aware, and the goal is to in one dashboard help you be able to secure all of them at the same time. And like I said, using AI, using machine learning to bring those top insights front and center, rather than being knee deep in logs on a daily basis. Let's use that Secure Score mentality. Let's have an overall approach as well as categories and per cloud kinds of views of the data. One of the things that I've been talking to customers about for many years is, using Secure Score, using that quick fix list to go out and 80-20 rule the crap out of this, right? Don't just fix the things that you know how to fix, but fix the things that are going to make a difference. And oh, by the way, we're going to come out of the box with a lot of those fixes pre-programmed, or walkthroughs, or wizards, or links to articles on Microsoft Learn, or on Docs, and have the ability to say, hey, looks like there's an issue. Here's what that issue is, and here's how we can go remediate it. Having that tied together. Maybe some people worry about job security, but I think it's a great thing. I think it really gives customers the ability to go out and not just assess an environment, get a score, but to actually go and remediate it, to see how it changes over time. I remember the celebrations that went off when Secure Score introduced some of that regression and history kinds of components early on, so that you could see, hey, I went backwards. Why did I go backwards? And so having that same approach in the multi-cloud world, hugely, hugely powerful. So security posture, big advancements in this space. And so cloud security posture management is something that Microsoft's investing in as well. Again, I think it's still in public preview. This is where you're going to get that agentless scanning, the attack path analysis, and the full cloud security graph that you can use to build those insights, and frankly have access to the data as well. I guess I kind of think about this in the mode of PowerShell and everything being available as a command line or as an API, and not just in the GUI. Sort of having that same approach in cloud, which is, hey, I can get at the data, I can get at the information. I don't just have to sit at the pre-programmed console. So again, I guess it was a fortuitous conversation last night, because we got to talking about this, about how some very, very large customers, they want the Teams functionality, they want the cloud solution functionality, for example, but they need it at an API level because something they're doing is so specialized, or their workforce is so large, and they want to narrow their focus, you say, in the field where they might have hundreds of thousands of employees. And so having that graph available is hugely, hugely beneficial. All right, there we go. And so comprehensive approach, so we know about endpoint, we know about what we can do when we have, endpoints, but we also have this agentless, vulnerability scanning, right? What's the OS posture, no, performance impact, reverse proxy, take all of that data and put it together to get a full view of your security posture across multi-clouds. And so this is kind of an example of what this looks like. Looking at some EC2 information from Amazon, and what a recommendation looks like in that space. Prioritizing risk with the intelligent cloud security graph, saying, hey, what do my resources look like across these clouds? What are their relationships? And then integrate the insights from all of these components to get that holistic view, right? To say, hey, what is an attack path going to look like? Or let me explore our cloud security. And so you can see an example here. Internet exposed VM has a high severity vulnerability and read permission to a key vault, right? And gives you the walkthrough of how that attack would potentially be exploited. And again, let's go remediate it. One of the things that I love about these tools is, like I said, that it draws that bright line connection between, hey, there's a problem, and hey, let's go fix it. I think too often those things are separated. Maybe they're even different tools, right? And then, governance at scale. I talk to a lot of CIOs about governance and compliance and guaranteeing it across the organization. And this gives you the tools to sort of hold people and systems accountable to what those needs are. Um, in a lot of highly regulated industries, there's a playbook for these things. Other places, maybe you're building some of that playbook, hopefully in partnership with whether it's legal or chief compliance officers or whatever that might look like. Um, and then based off of that, on the back end, we can create tickets and we can do things based on your governance and based on the remediation that's needed to stay in compliance. And so one of the things that Microsoft has done a good job of is, whether it's sensitive information type blueprints or example policies, is to build in, a lot of those industry standards into templates and foundational things that you can use. You don't have to use them. You can start from scratch, right? You can start with your own custom needs. But I know for a lot of us, having a template to start with, having an 80-20 rule or a cut and paste kind of approach to writing code, writing policies, putting something in place is a great way to start. I think some of the world's best coders are, initially some of the world's best people at finding examples of the code they're looking for, right? So here we've got that in spades, with regards to compliance and industry standard compliance templates. I talked about the integration with data sensitivity, being able to see these in the cloud resources and extend it into the data layer. Be able to see things out there that are labeled or are sensitive information types and that they live in data. Most of the time when I talk about this in the modern work scope, it's mostly about office documents and things like that. And so extending that into the data layer is hugely, hugely powerful, and something that's definitely worth taking a look at. And so I mentioned cloud security posture management. It's really a number of steps put together, right? Agentless and agent-based vulnerability scanning, getting that data out, getting the insights out, and integrating those two things together. Um, Contextualizing your cloud security and doing prioritization on the risks, right? Whether it's secure score or whether it's governed by compliance needs and so forth, but understanding what to go fix, right? What should I focus on, and making that prioritization. There's a long history here of innovation saying, hey, what are the most important bugs, right? If you remember the early days of, I suppose it wasn't technically early days, but in Windows, right? Dr. Watson and someone somewhere having the massively smart idea to say, well, how about if we upload those things, not in a PII way, but in a prioritization way, and say, man, if we just fix the bug in this one driver, we're gonna, bring down incidents of blue screens by 8% from just this one bug. And so having that in the security world, super, super valuable. And having it in the cloud security world is just that logical next step. And then the workflows and the remediation tied to the tool itself. And so being able to say, hey, where's a risk in my environment? And now what do I go do? And who is it assigned to? And are they overdue with doing that work? Having all those things tied together is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So let's take a look at kind of a little bit about what that looks and feels like. Workload protection here, using threat intelligence, integrate with your SIEM, whether it's Sentinel or something else, and protect things as soon as they're turned on. You can see here just that at a glance view of workload level protection when it comes to Defender for Cloud. When alerts happen and incidents happen, having all of that data integrated, right? This isn't a a ticket was opened in a system. Now I got to go do the legwork. It's let's present all of those things together and have the platform do as much correlation as possible. Whether it's network and host or account, bringing all of those things together. Again, I'm sure for some of us, we remember the days of time-stamped logs and cross-referencing and, well, who was signed on to that machine at this time? Well, let's look here. Let's look here on this domain controller. When did they authenticate? You get what I'm saying. Having all of those things brought together and correlated for you, and even the signals that might not seem to be important, all under the covers, and correlated for you ahead of time. And so, what can we protect, or what workloads? You can see it's a pretty long list of what you can just natively be able to secure and have visibility into. Key Vault. We spend a lot of our time in the modern work, whether it's productivity or whether it's security. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is Key Vault. A lot of folks, in the beginning of their journey into Azure, into cloud computing, sort of looking for that first win, and something like Key Vault is a great way to get your feet wet, just as an aside. And then with dedicated detections, you can see we're really covering everything. I shouldn't say everything. We're really covering, a lot of most of, what our customers are looking for as coverage with regards to security. And like I said, including that on-premise piece, right? Something like, Kubernetes. You can see that there's that spectrum, whether it's Azure, AWS, or cloud, or whether it's on-prem, right? Again, great conversation last night with my friend, talking a lot about Kubernetes and how this customer actually is moving them around based off of other criteria, whether it's spend, whether it's security posture, whether it's test, QA, production, including on-prem for them as well. That's just a quick drive-by around cloud security and Defender in the space. There's a lot more to say. There's a lot more that we'd love to talk to you about here at Apex. We've been doing this a long time. I'm just doing the drive-by. Our CTO, Sean Flahy, and our other talented consultants and architects, would love to, roll their sleeves up and help you tackle security, whether it's in Azure or whether it's in a multi-cloud world. There's some great solutions and tools and great experience we have. Hundreds of customers served, hundreds of engagements over the years, and really bring a lot of that multi-customer insight to you. It's the same story as Microsoft as it is for partners like us, where because we see these things across multiple customers, we can help bring that wisdom to you, right? Versus you being a single endpoint, kind of figuring it out on your own, because you might be, figuring out something or implementing something that everybody else, that we've worked with has already done. And so we've got that experience, and we can bring that to the table for you. This will be my last pitch based on timing. If you're watching this after the fact, we had a great time. You missed out. If it's still before March 15th, we're having an event with our great partners at 8x8 in Ferndale, where we're going to talk about Teams and Teams calling, dial plans and direct routing. We're going to have experts, and we're going to have brown liquid in fancy bottles. So if you're local to Detroit, if it's still pre-March 15th, go ahead and hop out to the website and register. I think we still have a couple of seats left. If that's the case, get on board, come meet the team. As I disclosed, I'm a Vikings fan, which gives me away as not living in Michigan, but I'll be there next week. And so if we've connected here on Fridays with Steve, This will be your opportunity to meet me and the team face to face. And I'd love to have you join us. So reach out, join us at the event if you can, or reach out to sales at Apex Digital. Browse our website. We've got lots of assets and resources that hopefully you'll find useful. And as always, if you have any questions, if you want a copy of the slide deck, if you want to discuss previous topics, or even have suggestions for other topics you'd like to see on Fridays with Steve, just go ahead and reach out to me directly here at Apex. So with that, we'll wrap up for today. Thanks everybody for your time this Friday morning or whenever you're catching us. And if it's pre-March 15th, why don't you consider joining us in person in Ferndale for our event with our great partners at 8x8. With that, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you again soon.